So on the screen here today, we've got the title of this webinar, which I'm seeing as increasingly important for businesses in what I call the fractured data environment that we're in. So welcome. My name is Michael Milligan, and I'm the owner of AccuNet. AccuNet is a VAR, and that's short for value-added reseller. Basically, we add technical expertise, training, on-site resources, industry expertise, like with nonprofits in this case, that add a little value to the publisher's software, which is Columo in this case, which is a business intelligence, corporate performance management reporting system is another name they use. But for me, it's really just a combination of financial reporting, budgeting, business intelligence, dashboards, and query, all kind of rolled into one. So that's what we're talking about today. Richard Pedigo is doing the demonstration for us today, and he'll be showing us some of those reporting, budgeting, forecasting, and business intelligence features with that focus on nonprofits. Richard, would you say a few words so everyone can recognize your voice and tell the difference between you and I?
Can you hear me all right?
I hear you, Richard.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. We have a very nice crowd today. I am the Strategic Alliance Vice President for Columo, and I work with Michael and people at the AccuNet partner. We present our product in venues such as this webinar, and we work one-on-one with partners to identify the specific requirements and then come up with customized demos. So the demo you'll see today is the standard demo we give to give an overview of the functionality of the Columo Corporate Performance Management Suite.
I appreciate that, and I can testify to everybody that Richard and his team at Columo is great to work with. And that's one of the reasons we've decided to work with this product, is because their team and technical expertise is so good, and they're so customer service oriented. So we have a reasonable sized crowd here today, so I'll leave everybody's microphones open. Encourage you to pop in and ask questions if something hits you a certain way and you want a little more clarification. And as long as we don't get too much distracting background noise. My favorite is music on hold. That one really gets me. So let's try and keep those phones not on hold, and mute yourself if you got some background noise. Okay, let's get started. So, here we go. So here's the agenda for today. 15 minutes for me roughly to set the current state and talk about the issues that most of our customers and business prospects that we work with are seeing. The demo from Richard showing how Columo can manage fractured data will take probably 35 minutes, and then 5 to 10 minutes to wrap things up with some Q&A. And maybe I'll start things out with an icebreaker question. Does anyone know the most commonly used or widely used financial reporting BI analysis tool today? I still got a few more people joining here, but the answer is Excel. So Excel is a tremendously widely used tool. Everybody uses it. Most people know that tool, and it plays a big role in what we're going to show today. So I wanted to kind of make that point. It does though have its limitations. I mean, it's not a corporate reporting system. It's a desktop analysis type tool. But there's some things we can do with Columo that broaden that up and make it the delivery vehicle for the information that we want to share, and I think that's a real plus. So when you look at businesses today, they have multiple disconnected financial systems. It's not uncommon for us to see a business with 2 or 3 ERP systems. We work with Dynamics SL and Acumatica, but it's very common for them to have a business to have QuickBooks, maybe at a smaller company that they didn't want to roll out a more expensive system to. They have specialized databases. They have CRM. They might have different versions of CRM, proprietary database, even Excel spreadsheets that all need to be rolled up. So that's the environment that we're working in today. Oftentimes something we see is that information is trapped within the walls of the accounting system. There's just a ton of valuable data that's in that accounting department, but it doesn't get pushed out to the managers, operational managers, board members, the people that can actually act on that information and see that their purchases are over budget or that they're getting close to the restricted fund level for this grant. And so they don't get a chance to take any action on it until it's too late. They're already over budget. So that's one of the things that we're doing with Calumo, is pushing that information out to people who can act on it. Also, the nirvana of budgeting is is complex top-down budgeting. So a corporate manager, CFO, controller pulls last year data, makes some assumptions on sales and costs, the number of FTEs that they know are going to happen, and then they can divide that budget up and push it out to the department managers that can actually look at it by fund, by grant, by project, by department, make their tweaks, and then send that back to corporate to roll that up into a master budget for approval. So that's the budgeting nirvana we want to get to, and that's possible here. An increasing trend over the last 5 years, 10 years even, has been the need for mobile. We have now with web-based technology, it's very possible to deliver bite-sized actionable information over a mobile device, especially a tablet. But things like alerts and dashboards that show that I'm over budget, or this requisition has been setting, in the queue for too long to get approved. I'm still waiting on this PO, or I'm waiting on this piece of inventory, or I'm waiting on some kind of budget approval or expense item approval. That information can all be easily consumed on a mobile phone. And with our millennials coming up into the workforce, they've been using these mobile phones, and they're very comfortable digesting a lot of information from the mobile device, and that keeps things moving. So we want to work that into the formula, that the need for mobile. Increasingly, we're a dispersed work at home, temporary subcontractors, volunteers, remote workers, and especially, no slam on nonprofits, but they got a lot of volunteers and low-tech users that are in there because they're excited about this organization and what it can do, and they may not bring high-tech skills to the job. So they need to use a system that's user-friendly and get the information in a format they can digest. Reporting times 10, again and again, it's I want to query, I want to analyze, I want dashboards, I want to slice and dice this information, and that's what we want to provide. Those dashboards should be right for the role. If I'm a volunteer in the field, I see a different dashboard than the controller back at the office. And then finally, we need simple licensing that's easy to understand, so you can project your costs and tell how much this system is really going to cost you to own. And although I think cloud has tremendous advantages, and it's something that you should consider seriously, there are a few cases where on-premise is still the best way to deploy. So we want to have licensing options that let us buy this software and put it on our own server, or rent it basically in the cloud and keep those hardware costs and support costs down. So why Columo? And I'll give you a little bit of the history here that AccuNet went through. You know, we're in this multi-publisher world, and to define publisher, you know, the publisher is the software creator. They're people like Microsoft, Columo, Acumatica, Sage, Blackbaud, those type of companies. They're the publisher. And often, as I mentioned, it's a multi-ERP system, and ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning System. It's basically just more than a financial. It's a system that you use to run your business. So it oftentimes includes CRM, donor management, grant management, project management. That's what makes it an enterprise system as opposed to just a financial system. What we want to do is push that those department budgets with assumptions based on last year out to the department managers where they can actually take action and use it. It's got to be easy to use, and we need those reporting and query times 10 in a format that the consumers can analyze. And that format is often, or is Excel in my mind. So let me pull something else out up here. So let me share with you the, how AccuNet chose Columo. AccuNet has been implementing systems for over 30 years. And we worked with Dynamics SL for all that time, Acumatica for the last 8 years. We've had brief experiences with Deltek, Dynamics GP, Dynamics AX, and Dynamics 365. I've also had the valuable experience of moving hundreds of customers from older legacy systems to Dynamics SL and Acumatica. You know, this experience has taught me that the publishers of ERP systems can be fickle. You take Microsoft, for example. They killed a successful financial reporting solution called FRX and Forecaster, which was used for budgeting and forecasting and modeling. For a promised replacement, they called Performance Manager. You know, even though Microsoft owned a big portion of FRX, they wanted the whole pie. They didn't want to share that software with FRX. They wanted their own system. So they gutted FRX and put together a team to develop this new package, Performance Manager. And the project failed. They quickly got together a new team and pushed out a package called Management Reporter for the Dynamics accounting solutions. And that product was just riddled with bugs, performance issues. Frankly, I lost several customers trying to implement MR, wrote down a ton of time, and it was a total debacle. So that's where I took some of my lumps. And that caused me to say, we need an independent financial reporting system that's independent of the financial system, CRM, grants, donor management. We need something that when we produce a financial report, it's independent. If one of those pieces of the pie changes underneath, the finances that I'm showing the bank, my managers, and the board doesn't change. And that's one of the reasons that we looked at Columo. So, and the reason is that ERP systems are not forever. I mean, we typically see 10 plus years with our ERP implementations, and that's a good number. But I've got customers that have been using the same system for 30 years, and that's the ideal situation. But I've also seen other customers that have turned over ERP systems, 3 ERP systems in the last 10 years. Can you imagine the disruption in conversion time, training time, flat out capital costs that they've invested? And their financial reports change for each of those systems. So the bank and the board and the operation managers see a different looking financial system, budgets, project management, grant management systems. It would just be hugely disruptive. So you insulate yourself by using a corporate reporting system like Columo that doesn't change when one of the pieces of the pie changes. So we did our research. We looked at packages like Profix, BI360, Powered BI, Adaptive, and others. And we had to find a product that suited the mid-market. And I define mid-market as 10 million to 50 million, or 10 million, I'm sorry, to 500 million. We've definitely got some billion-dollar companies using this solution, and we've got some $5 million companies using this solution. It's really not purely or strictly revenue. What matters is complexity and the goals of that particular organization. So we also found that Excel is the front end that most people are already using and that they can use to digest information that the system puts out. And that's what Columo does. So the challenges for businesses, as we talked about, is multiple data sources. Multiple ERP systems, in-house SQL databases, Excel, donor systems, all those need to be consolidated up into one data warehouse, is what we use with Columo. And that centralizes all the data for quick reporting using templates that are created in Excel, that are over the web, so they're 24-hour, 24/7 access, and they can be displayed on a Mac or on a PC or a mobile device. And that lets us automate reporting, automate budgeting processes, remove errors, and let people start to build up their skills with these tools and fine-tune these templates, and they get better over time. So the current state is what you can see on this this graphic. It shows multiple company databases, possibly from multiple ERP systems, rolling up into HR, budgeting systems, AR, general ledger, CRM systems that are then reported on with multiple reporting tools like Crystal, whatever the ERP system provides. Excel is always in there. Management Reporter for the folks using Microsoft products. SQL reporting services is another. And there's a whole host of reporting tools that people have used to try and help this problem. But the trouble is it's all on this fractured data. And then that finally goes up to multiple devices. So what I want to do now is have Richard come in. Richard, I'm going to flip the screen over to you so you can actually show this tool in action. So you should have screen control now. And I'm going to pause my video. Go ahead, Richard.
Muted. Unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now I got you. Sorry about that, Richard.
Okay, yeah, we became a little bit muted there. Well, thank you very much, Michael. It was a great introduction, and yes, the issue that people face today is, as you pointed out, lots of various pieces of information, siloed data, fractured data, all across the enterprise. And with Columo, we'll bring all that together. And what I'll show you today is an overview demonstration of the system. So this first screen, and Mike, you can see that all right, correct?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So what we've done is we've put together what might be a typical landing screen for an end user, where we have a combination of tabular data, we have dynamic graphical representation of information. For our budgeting, we have workflow. And so when I get to budgeting, what I'm going to be doing is I'll be using the Olympics organization. Pat Allen is the person. Since we are an Excel-based front end, we do have conditional formatting, which is not supported with Management Reporter. And you can see here that Pat needs some help. Tomorrow, the budget is due. And there's also a notes capability within Columo that allows you to add commentary throughout the system, whether it be a report or whether it be a budget or a forecast item. We also have the capability to derive what the source is of the information. So on this particular report, we are looking at the income statement as being able to produce this level of information. So let's start out by looking at some dashboards. All the dashboards I'm going to show you are designed using the Columo graphics design tool, and I'll actually go in later in the demo and show you how to build a pretty simple dashboard. These dashboards, like our reports and forecasts, they are all dynamic, and so you can not only pick periods, but you can pick other areas. This could be grants, this could be projects, this could be any type of information that you wish to report on. Another nice capability of our graphics and our dashboards is the fact that we can drill through. By drilling through, this means that we're going from one item, such as a dashboard, to look at the underlying report that generated this information. And so in this particular dashboard, we came to the income statement. You'll also notice that over here, we're supporting the use of KPIs and Excel graphics, and we have the capability for looking at looking at commentary. So all of these things are very important as you're looking to a reporting solution. So I drilled through to the income statement, but now I can also drill down. And so all of our reports are interactive. This, while it was designed with in Excel to design the template, now that I'm in Columo, I can now take a look at additional information. So now I have the capability to look at the fact that I can drill into information that otherwise I would have to perhaps run a different report on. So let's take a look at a couple of the drill down capabilities. On labor expense, I can see that I have a budget variance of $10,000 for this particular month. So one way I could do is I could drill down to take a look at the transactional data, and then I can organize that information as I would see fit. Perhaps I don't want to do it by department, I can do it by account. If you have different currency reporting needs, we can report in native currency, or we can do currency consolidation and report in one common currency. I also have the capability here on this actual to do a different slice and dice to really interrogate what's going on in the information. We call this our magic slicer. And so now I came right back into the data as it is represented in the data warehouse. And so I'm going to take a look at some additional items. I really want to interrogate this data. And so now I am responsible for North America, US operations. And so I want to come in and I want to find out where that variance is. Now I'm doing all of this from the income statement. I didn't have to run another report. And so I can now go down, I can interrogate exactly what's going on. And I can see that my largest contributor to this variance is my Northwest division, that their salaries are way over budget and they're driving additional items of expense. And so I was able to do that right from a dashboard. We also have the capability of having different types of dashboards, green fields, overall dashboards, to where now I can look at specific items. Since we're looking at not-for-profit or nonprofit, you probably wouldn't be selling televisions, but these could be projects, these could be grants. You can drill through and do further interrogation into the individual items. All of this is all dynamic and allowing you to really get down and take a look at the individual capabilities and functionalities without having to run additional reports. It also gives you the capability of, and again, these are all designed with the Columo graphics design tool, to go way above what is normally available to you with static graphics that are in Excel. So in this example, I'm able to drill through, I'm able to take a look at individual items and really put together some very, very meaningful dashboards and graphical representation of data. So let's now jump over and take a look at some financial reports. So because we are an Excel-based front end, there is virtually no type of report that you can't produce. And as Michael pointed out, being able to bring in information from virtually any data source, you're now able to report on that information in a common format. For instance, maybe you're using an outside payroll system like Paychex or ADP. Perhaps you're bringing in your travel expenses from a web-based expense reporting system. Perhaps you're doing your marketing with a marketing collaboration tool like we use, which happens to be Marketo. All of this information is now available because we're bringing it into the data warehouse and we're looking at it at an enterprise level. You also have the capability in a single report to be able to have drop-down capabilities, pulling in different reporting information, different reporting periods, different reporting groups, departments, organizations, anything that you wish. On the drop-downs, you're able to slice and dice the data to your exact purpose. We also have the capability of doing reporting on various periods, looking at income or expenses by month. I also put together a balance sheet, and as an example of being able to look at information that's coming in from grants. So I have here, and again, I have modified this balance sheet to reflect the purpose of today's demonstration. So when I do my drill down, it won't necessarily show specific information, but I want you to get the idea that we would have the ability, for instance, to come in and take a look at unrestricted funds or restricted funds, or be able to look at a particular grant. And from these areas, just as I did before, be able to drill down and take a look at the specifics associated with that particular grant or fund. For instance, on organization, perhaps this could be a food bank, or this could be a child daycare, or this could be emergency shelters. And you would be able to see that under department or account in each one of the grants that would be applied. And you would be in a situation to then see the actual amounts. You could also, as I did before, you could slice and dice the information as you would see fit. Or you could come in and do a drill down at a top line level and have the information available to you as well. So the nice thing that we're trying to represent here is that everything is dynamic. We have all the information, regardless of source, available at your fingertips so that you can, in fact, look at information the way in which it needs to be looked at and presented out through a web portal. What I am accessing here is, if it is a web portal that is on our cloud, then you would be coming in into Columo through the Microsoft Azure web portal. If it would be on-prem, then we're sitting behind your firewall on your internet server, and you would be coming in through your corporate web portal. all under full security and only having users access the information that is specifically available to them. So as I pointed out, there's virtually no type of report that or information that we can't produce. So one of the things that we wanted to also focus on was the planning aspect. So let's go in and take a look at some budgets. I could come in and look at individual budgets, like for instance here, this is a payroll planning budget. I could do a volume budget. Perhaps these would be projections of revenues or line items associated with a grant or a fund. And I can combine everything into a single consolidated budget form. Now, I probably didn't point out, but when we were going to look at the Olympic organization, that the budget had not started. So as I start to work on this budget, it will transfer to in progress. When it is completed and I submit it back for approval, it will lock the input screen and the input template and not have, not have the person available to make any changes. If it's rejected, it would be sent back, and you'll notice that we have the capability of having notes, which I pointed out, use last year's actuals for this year's budget for these expense line items. So let's actually go in and start to do some budgeting. On revenue, this can be any item, and we're driving the revenue off of a price sheet. So if in fact, perhaps you are selling, you're doing a fundraiser and you're selling particular line items, you could come in and enter the expected volume amount associated with that line item, and then it would project the sales equally over the period. It would automatically calculate the revenue associated with it, and it would associate your cost for selling that item and generate your gross profit. I could come in and perhaps in December, you're having one particular item and you're going to be selling 150 of those. I could come in and just do a single sell. I could come in and do multiple sells. So I'm going to be selling 300 line items across, and I could select my spreading method across these items, across these periods rather. And so you'll notice everything is getting updated throughout this system. It is now being written to the data warehouse. So when I leave this particular input screen, it automatically updates my consolidated budget form here and gives me all the summary information. Let's come down and take a look at doing some payroll planning. So with payroll planning, you have the ability to take a look at people or assign people if I'm the department manager. These are the headcounts and requisitions that I have approval for, including 2 people that are already on the in my department. So I'm going to show you how you might go in and enter the information in a variety of ways. So for Mike, I'm going to put in that Mike is going to be an FTE, full-time employee, for the entire year. And so I will update that and spread it across. Now you'll notice down here that I have captured all of the cost associated with Mike, and I have also derived all of the benefits associated with this individual, and I've allocated the costs across multiple departments to be going across multiple grants, multiple checks, and could be We do allocations all the time, could be virtually any type of allocation that you wish. I can also enter information in differently. For instance, for Kim, I can enter in her salary at $125,000 and update that, and it will automatically spread her salary and her associated costs across the months. It will update all the information. If I wish, let's say that I'm planning on giving Kim a bonus, and I'm going to do that at the end of the year. And so there's going to be in December a $2,000 bonus that I'm budgeting for. And Kim's been doing a great job. And so now I'll allocate that bonus. Additionally, I can come in and come back to salary. As far as for my planning purposes, starting in January for the remainder of the year, I'm going to be giving Kim a 10% raise. So I can up by percentage of and check that, and it will automatically increase her salary by 10% starting in January. And now I have everything budgeted, and you can see that her total salary is now correctly allocated. Perhaps some of these people over here are going to be coming in for a temporary period of time, maybe 3 months. And so I can come back just as I did before and allocate those individuals for just the period of time that they're going to be here. And it will come in based upon the budgeted annual salary that has been given to me. It will properly calculate the budget amount for that person being there for 3 months. Oftentimes we'll maybe bring in consultants or perhaps bring in other individuals at a later part of the year. So once I have completed my payroll planning, I would then come back over to my consolidated input template, and I will see here that I now have all of the information that has been derived from my payroll planning, and it's all been put in based on month by month. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some expense planning. So here I have my various spreading methods that I can allocate, and there are other methods. We've just picked these for even, 4, 4, 5, last year, or quarterly. So if you recall on the note, it said use last year's actuals for this year's budget. So I can see that I have budgeted or used last year $45,000. So that's my total budget amount. Perhaps I'm going to have a conference that's coming up, and I'm going to be spending, let's say, $4,000 on advertising for my conferences across the year. So it'll automatically go in based upon last year's expense actuals. It will come through, and as well, don't know why I'm experiencing this slow internet. Hopefully this won't continue. Let me see if I can go in and hit refresh. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so I allocated the $4,000 based upon last year's actuals across all of those periods. I can come down and look at perhaps merchandise displays associated with my conference. Perhaps I need a new conference booth, and I'm going to allocate that for $5,000 in the first month. And so I'll go through, allocate that, and you'll notice that as I'm going through and actually allocating these expenses, it's decreasing the amount of my available budget left. So I could come down, I can have advertising, I can have company training coming through. Perhaps I'm doing quarterly HR training, and that's going to, we're going to budget again, we're going to budget $4,000, but this now is going to be budgeted every quarter. That is my spreading method. So it's coming through and now going to pick up the $1,000 per quarter and spread that across. And yes, I am having, I don't know why, but I am having slow internet today. I apologize for that. This is normally lightning fast. So perhaps we can hit refresh again, reload. Okay, there we go. Come back over to planning, come back over to here. And you'll notice that when I come back to this area, because everything was written to the database, it automatically is picking up my input data. I didn't lose anything by actually refreshing and going back. So as you can see, I can go through here. I can set up virtually any type of information, my training classes, internal or external, setting up conference expenses associated with what I'd be planning. Maybe I'm going to have a fundraising event in July, and I could come out and do that. So as I'm going through, I hope you get the idea that now I can have my major line items, I can have my sub line item categories stretched across, and when I get done, I will come in and I will hit, you'll notice this change in progress, I will hit submit, and when I hit submit, it's going to say that I have finalized my budget, send back a notification to the budget manager, and lock down this particular budget form. So that pretty much covers budgeting. And so what I'd like to do now is very quickly go in and show you how to create a Columo report using Excel. So you'll notice I'm in native 365, and we have the Columo add-in. So what I do is I go over, and I've already connected, so I'm going to now connect Excel to Columo. And I am now going to pick the data that I wish to use in my development of a template. And now things seem to be speeding up, which is great. So this is my grid, and here are going to be my drop downs, my rows and columns, my measures and my dimensions. I'm going to pick date, and I'm going to put fiscal year as one of my drop downs, department, scenario. And for my rows, I'm going to drag over my natural accounts. For my columns, I'm going to put month of year. Yes, now it's operating as it should, with very good speed. I can now expand this information out and go to subledger information to be included in my report. I can roll it all up. I can change the orientation of my income. I can put it down at the bottom, which most people like. But now this is where the real magic happens. I'm now going to take this information and I'm going to send it to Excel. So as I send it to Excel, what I'm doing is I am making Excel database driven. So now the information, now Excel is connected to the data warehouse. So now when I come in, I can work on the information in any way that I wish. Okay. Let's say, let me come in. Okay, now I'm going to send to Excel. I'm going to open again. Given a different demo today, and perhaps I should have reloaded Excel. So now I'm back to where I was. I can come in here and I can expand looking at my subledger information. And so now it's going back out to the data warehouse. I can expand this out to where I am now formatting my report in the way I want to have it set up. So I can do virtually anything with this data that I so desire. I'm just going to go a simple report. My income, I'm going to come in and into bold that on my line items over here. I'm going to center and bold those. I'm going to put a title on the report.
Hey, Richard. Hey, Richard, this is Mike.
Mike?
Yeah, your voice is getting a little choppy. If there's anything you can do to fix that, I don't know if there is.
Okay. I'm not sure why, but I hope that it can be. Is this any better?
Sounds a little better now.
Okay, great. All right. So quickly, I know we're pressed for time here. This is a sample report. So what I've done is I've expanded to the subledger information. I have done simple highlighting. I have presented the data in a fashion that I wish. I can come back over to the Columo tab, and now I can publish this report. I can either publish it public, which means that every user that's authorized on the system will see the report, or I can publish it private. I can send it to a person, a group, or a department. But real quickly, before I do that, I want to show you how simple it is to create a Columo dashboard. So what I'm doing is I'm opening the Columo graphics design tool, and I'm going to use the same information that I did before. Come on, where's the empty? Here it is. Same information I did before. The paradigm is precisely the same. So now I'm going to be moving over, okay, as one of my drop downs, my department, my organization, my scenario, moving over my natural accounts, and moving over my month of year. Yes, moving over my month of year. And I've now created a fully interactive dashboard. It's that simple. Drill down capabilities. There's a lot of capabilities. All those dashboards I showed you were used for using graphics design tool. Let's go out and I'm going to publish this report. So I developed it in Excel. I can add tabs. I can do any calculations on any of this data. Just put together a nice, short, simple report. And now I'm going to publish it up to the Columo web portal. So as a user, I would now have this report available to me. You'll notice that it has full drop-down capabilities. I didn't have to run another report to load it for budget variance. I didn't have to have a different report to look at a different period. If I want to look at labor expense, I still have the capability automatically as part of the product to drill down to the content and be able to slice and dice that information any way that I wish. So it's a very straightforward report. So I showed you how we would go in and we would pick the data, organize it from the data warehouse. We would then publish the data, sending it out to Excel. In Excel, we would format the data, do anything with it that you want to do using Excel. We then publish information, and then the report would be sent back out to a user for everyone in the system with the ability to get this information on anything that can gain access to the internet or on a mobile device. So I want to turn it back over to you, and hopefully we have some questions. I know that was fast and furious, but I hope you've got an idea of the graphics capability, budgeting, reporting capability that Columo can bring to an organization. Thank you very much, Michael.
Yeah, Richard, I did send you a question. If you could comment on that, if that's appropriate. Take a look at that question.
Can you talk about templates that the customer can get from Columo? Yes, we have templates that come with the system, and when we get those, you have the capability of modifying them. Michael, do you want me to talk about also the pilot thing?
Let me hit that at the end.
All right.
So what I wanted to show here, I think, is the next screen. So, and Richard, right now you're seeing the how it simplifies Columo, how it simplifies reporting.
That's correct.
Yes. So we've kind of turned that graph or that chart that we looked at before the demo upside down a little bit, where all these disparate data sources feed into one data warehouse that is reported on using the tools that Columo provides, so that you get this more unified reporting system of all these disparate data sources. And here's some sample customers that or some existing customers that have used Columo and like it, like the Villa Maria Catholic Homes, National Trust Bank, and the Goodwill. And also want to point out that, I guess this BARC report. So and that's what you're seeing now on the screen, Richard, is.
No, I still see the non-profit.
There we go.
There's BARC.
So BARC is an independent, research analyst firm, and they picked out some of the things that were important to AccuNet, in that they ranked Columo very high on its price to value benefit, customer satisfaction, implementation, and ease of use. Those were the three biggies that hit for us, that make Columo a product that we're behind and supporting with our clients. And some other testimonials from customers here: Dynata, Wow Logistics, Liberty Task Service, and Sizzling Platter, which is a restaurant franchise. All about cutting time to close and using one report writer rather than using, in most cases, customers are using, 5 or 10. And as far as questions and next steps, Richard mentioned the pilot, which is a very good way to evaluate a complex situation. It's just hard to know if this, or prove really that this product will work for you until you see some of your data actually producing some of your reports. And that's a part of the process that AccuNet likes to approach with our customers. So we have a free discovery process where we help you identify the key reports, the key data, the key objectives for the project. And then we can do a small pilot with a very small investment and no software purchase to actually do a proof of concept. And that allows us to learn a lot more about you. It helps you refine your requirements and then make a much safer decision on a bigger purchase to go ahead with something like Columo. At the bottom of the screen, I've included Columo's website, which has some great videos and other information you can look at. And then also on our website, under our financial reporting section, in that accu.com/financial reporting, we have some demos and webinars, and this webinar will be up there probably late tomorrow, that you can review that. I can also send a link to this video, which will be up on YouTube, to anybody else in your organization that would like to see it. Feel free to contact Richard or myself at the address that's on the screen now, or I guess it's not on the screen now. Let me pull that up. Got too many screens here to show. So yeah, here's our email addresses for Richard and myself, our phone numbers, and those website addresses that you can hit with any questions. So the mic is open now. Does anybody have some questions? And Seth, maybe you could take a look over the log and see if there's anybody that has questions that they put in the notes. Okay, so Seth, one of the questions I saw out there earlier from our questions was they wanted to confirm that you can buy this solution either as a cloud solution where you rent it month to month. You don't have to purchase any hardware or software licensing. The other option is to make a capital purchase the software, and load it locally on your servers. You can deploy that either way. One of the other common questions that we get is preferred browsers. Calumo works with any browser, but the popular browsers that are always top on the list for all the cloud products that we work with are Chrome and then Microsoft's Edge. That's the replacement to Internet Explorer. Those are the two big popular browsers that we always test with and that seem to perform the best overall. But Calumo will work with any browser. Any other questions from the group? All right, I appreciate everybody's time. I'll go ahead and close this out and put this up on the web. Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for investing the time with us to show you what we have.
All right, everybody have a great day.